As I mentioned, today I think I want to give you a little background on where the name came from, or more likely, really what my thoughts are in what the mindful classroom represents, its evolution, and where I see it going. Uh, Obviously, most of you know, for the large majority of my career, I was in education. I taught middle school, I taught high school. I spent 28 years teaching in Lower Cape May Regional. And for the majority of my time there, I called room B5 my classroom. And then my thoughts evolved a little bit. And really, B5 became our classroom between me and my students. It wasn't mine that I was letting them in, it was something we shared together. For that reason, every year at the end of the year, I was just thinking about it today as other teachers' years end. I would spend a few days and I would take every poster off my walls and I would strip everything down so the room became absolutely barren and sterile. My thought behind that was it one reminded my seniors that this isn't where they are ready to be anymore. They've outgrown it, they're too big for it, and it doesn't have the comfort it once had. And then, more importantly, that would allow me in August to rebuild my room, and my room would have space for the energy of the new incoming class so they could make their mark within our classroom. So B5 became somewhere that we all shared together and we all placed our energy in it. And as I got deeper into my career, I really took notice on how much I learned from my students. And I'd like to flatter myself and really think they learned quite a bit from me. But the reality is, over the years, I learned so much more from them, and they shaped me into being the teacher that I was and the person that I am. So I got to thinking about what is a classroom, and my first thought was I like the idea of what the Exeter School did, where their classrooms were a large round table, and they had 15 students and then a teacher, and they all had an equal seat at the table for when they would have discussions on whatever they were going over. So that the teacher was really serving as a guide and leading the conversation, but not controlling the conversation. That they had autonomy and they had a voice, and their voice was as valid and legitimate as their neighbor's voice and as the teacher or the adult in the room's voice. And that really made me think about education. Um, I think unfortunately we kind of create this mindset in this country about education that it happens while we're formally in school, and then suddenly it just vanishes off and we're on our own. So the mindful classroom came about because I kind of took the work that I've done in mindfulness and the idea that anywhere can be your classroom and anywhere can provide you with a learning opportunity. So your classroom can be sitting on the beach, experiencing awe and just really taking in everything that's around you and just having a realization about where we are as a part of the universe, as a part of our own life and other people's lives. And that's what I wanted to bring, a chance to sit down and talk and go over some of the ideas about life, things I've encountered, my own meanderings. And as a result of that, I coined the term, or I didn't coin the term. I'm sure other people have used the term. I'm not going to flatter myself, but the idea of a mindful classroom, because the work I do in meditation, being mindful is being present. So if you're mindful, it doesn't mean that when you meditate, your mind goes blank. That'd be a really scary thought, because I'm of the opinion your mind's only going to go blank possibly one time, and we don't know what happens after that one time. Um, as a matter of fact, though, it may not go blank, and I'll talk about that in a little while. I just read a book about somebody having a very near death experience, and their mind did anything but go blank. But what mindfulness is an awareness. It's experiencing the moment. It's being in that moment you're in. So that mindful classroom is learning from wherever you are and whatever you're doing. I think one of my favorite descriptions of meditation comes from the Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. And I've repeated this a few times, and those of you who've been in my presence have heard me say this. Um, but he describes meditation as when you're washing the dishes, you're washing the dishes. And it really is that simple. It's like the old Zen proverb: before enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water. It's a realization of experiencing what you're experiencing. And that's not always just the good times. Sometimes enlightenment is really sitting with some of the hard feelings and sitting with sorrow and sitting with frustration and realizing that I need to learn how to grow from this. So, as I referenced the mindful classroom, that's really what it is. It is mindfully learning from every experience you're in. It's why I have decided to restructure my coaching business. And uh, my coaching is now the mindful classroom, because I'm going to work with my clients and I'm going to help you come to a realization that you can learn from everything you're going through. And learning from it is being mindful of what it is. And that first thing is being mindful of, what purpose do I want to have? Really evaluating your life and looking at where you want to be now, and where do you want to be in 3 years, and in 5 years, and in 10 years. Then you can look at what do you need to do as a performance to get you to 3 and to 5 and to 10. And I'm just there to help you read the roadmap. I'm just there to make sure that I ask the right questions for you to give yourself the right answers. So that's really where it comes from. So that's the mindful classroom. As I promised, I would talk a little bit about that. The next thing I wanted to do was to share with you today's daily Stoic quote. If you haven't picked this book up, I highly recommend it. It is by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. And every day you get a thought to meditate on. And I thought today's was beautiful, especially in talking about knowing where you want to go in life and knowing what you're trying to achieve and where you want to be. So today is: a trained mind is better than any script. In this way, you must understand how laughable it is to say, tell me what to do. What advice could I possibly give? No, a far better request is train my mind to adapt to any circumstance. In this way, if circumstances take you off script, you won't be desperate for a new prompting. And that's from Epictetus's Discourses. It then goes on to add, it would be nice if someone could show us exactly what to do in every situation. Indeed, this is what we spend a good portion of our lives doing: preparing for this, studying for that, saving for or anticipating some arbitrary point in the future. But plans, as the boxer Mike Tyson pointed out, last only until you're punched in the face. Stoics do not seek to have the answer for every question or a plan for every contingency. Yet they are also not worried. Why? Because they have confidence that they'll be able to adapt to and change with the circumstances. So instead of looking for instruction, they cultivate skills like creativity, independence, self-confidence, ingenuity, and the ability to problem solve. In this way, they are resilient instead of rigid. We can practice the same. Today, we will focus on the strategic rather than the tactical. We'll remind ourselves that it's better to be taught than simply given, and better to be flexible than to stick to a script. And as I circle back on the mindful classroom, that's exactly what I was just talking about. I don't ever claim when I sit down with a client or a friend or anybody that I have an answer for them. They have the answer. They just might not know they have the answer. They might not recognize the answer, but there's no way for anybody else to give you a map because I don't know what you're going to encounter along the way. I don't know what roadblocks you're going to hit. I don't know where things are going to go. Um, I'm seeing that right now as I'm changing everything around and reformulating what I want to do. That you have to be able to roll with the punches and having those skills to not get derailed, knowing that there's going to be an obstacle on the road to your success in your journey, knowing that you need to define what success means for you. Success is different for everybody and what you're looking to do. So this morning, that gave me a lot of room to really think about this idea of where do I want to be? And then what am I going to do to achieve it? And what is it I need to do when things stand in my way? And, what do I need to do to provide the means to get to where I want to be? So I think they're all great thoughts. I go back to the Stoics often. It's interesting because in my balance of reading Stoicism and reading Buddhism, I am fascinated by how much they overlap and how many of their ideas are very similar, very pragmatic, really, really giving you, a structure on there will be suffering in life or there will be obstacles in the road. And moving forward is learning how we work around them. So they were the two things I wanted to go through there. I just finished, and as I was talking to somebody, I also just finished reading In My Time of Dying by Sebastian Junger, how I came face to face with the idea of an afterlife. And I really would like to recommend this book very highly. Sebastian Junger, you may know, he wrote his best known work, which was made into a huge movie, was The Perfect Storm. He wrote another tremendous book, Tribe, about soldiers when they come home from war and why they struggle with PTSD, why they struggle with not being able to reconnect and restart their lives. He also did a documentary film, Restrepo, that was wonderful. He has written many, many articles. He has been an embedded soldier through many of the wars in the Middle East and written about the experiences of those soldiers. I said embedded soldier, I meant an embedded journalist. And this book is about a pancreatic aneurysm that he had that burst, and he had a stomach bleed. And he came extremely close to dying, so close that it took 10 pints of blood to sustain him. But in the very beginning of the book, he talks about as he was on the operating table going through the operations and he was still conscious. Out of nowhere, he saw a vision on the side of the room of his father who had died years before, telling him, "It's okay, you can come with me." And Sebastian Junger had the wherewithal to tell the doctor, "You need to hurry up because I don't have long." And when he fully recovered and when he came around, he really started thinking about what it is that we have these visions. Generally speaking, when you listen to people who have had a near death experience, they always recount one of two experiences. The first experience is seeing a dead relative, is seeing somebody who has died coming to them, guiding them or talking to them. And the second vision is they remove themselves, excuse me, they remove themselves from their body and they actually look down at the room. And in the book, he interviews a lot of people and he talks about people who've had those experiences. And what's interesting is why is it that we always have one of the two same experiences? And, the book obviously does not have a definitive answer for what happens after we die, but it looks at some of the probabilities. And he does so from a very scientific and from a very logical standpoint as he walks through this process. So I want to share, this isn't really part of the book. This is on the last page, But this struck me because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. So I'd like to share with you. Once I get there, here we are. His last plea. So, author's note on blood donation. I survived a ruptured aneurysm in my pancreatic artery, in part because I received 10 units of blood to replace what I'd lost in my abdomen. In other words, 10 anonymous blood donors helped save my life. In my gratitude, I now donate blood as often as I'm allowed, roughly 3 to 4 times a year. Please donate blood at your nearest blood bank. You may well save the life of a child or of a parent, and one day you may need blood yourself. Donating blood is painless, safe, and takes less than an hour. There aren't many ways to be a part of something greater than yourself, and donating blood is one of the easiest and the finest. You can find the blood donation center nearest you at www.donatingblood.org. And as somebody who has donated blood for years and years, decades, 3 to 4 times a year, and it's been easy for me for the large part because I was in the high school and first of all, I ran blood donations for 15 years. And I've just always had the habit of donating blood. And I will tell you, it really is very, very easy, relatively painless. As they say, a little stick in a burn, and then you just relax on the table. And you can change people's lives. Imagine knowing that 40 minutes of your time has given someone a chance to live. So I second Sebastian Junger's plea. I think donating blood is one of the noblest things you can do. Please, please, if you haven't done so, think about doing so. You can look them up. There are blood donations all around us. Fire stations. I know Westgate Mayberry Hall has them. The VFW has them. The Masonic Lodge has them. There are so many places locally, wherever you are, to donate blood. Please consider that. So I thank you, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. As I'm going to keep giving a shameless plug, in the next 2 weeks, you will see a web page that I'll be putting up. The web page will have information about my coaching business. I'm doing performance and purpose coaching, helping you find out where you want to be and what you need to do to get there. In addition, I am also going to keep alive my teaching writing skills that I've gained over the years from Lower Cape May Regional, and I will have a college application coaching as well as just a writing tutor available. So the web pages should be up in the next week or two, but if you want to reach out to me, feel free to reach out to me. I am TJ Belasco on all the socials that you can think of, and even my email is tjbelasco@gmail.com. We can sit down and figure out what works. So thanks for listening. I look forward to talking to you soon. Be well, my friends.